My mom told my fiancé I abandoned a secret child until she showed up at our rehearsal dinner. Now, honey, I want you to really sit with this one, because I have told a lot of stories in my time, and I mean a lot of stories, but once in a while, one comes across my desk that makes me set everything down, put my coffee aside, and just breathe for a second. This is one of those stories. This is the story of a man named Ethan Carter, 34 years old, an architect. The kind of man who measures twice and cuts once, in his work, in his relationships, in every single corner of his life. The kind of man who built things that lasted, pause, and 3 days before his wedding, his own mother tried to burn everything he'd built to the ground. Now, before I go any further, I want you to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Because this right here, this is what we do every single week. We sit together and we talk about the stories that remind us what it means to be human. The heartbreak, the hope, the truth that always, always finds its way back, up to the surface. Now let me tell you about Ethan Carter and his mother, Linda, and a 15-year-old girl who walked through a door and changed everything. Chapter 1. The day everything changed. I want you to picture this. Ethan had been with his fiancée, Rachel Monroe, for 4 years. 4 years of Sunday morning breakfasts and late-night conversations and all the beautiful, ordinary moments that become the foundation of a life together. They'd been engaged for 14 months. And the wedding, their wedding, was in 3 days. 3 days. Now, Ethan knew that Rachel was a planner, a detail person, the kind of woman who color codes her calendar and triple checks the venue contract and knows exactly which flowers she wants in which vase on which table. So when he came home that Tuesday evening and found her sitting at their kitchen table, completely still, hands flat on the surface, not moving, he noticed. He noticed immediately. Because Rachel Monroe did not sit still. "Hey," he said. "You okay?" She didn't answer right away. She just looked up at him, and the expression on her face, Lord have mercy, it wasn't anger. It wasn't sadness exactly. It was something much worse than either of those things. It was grief, like she was looking at a stranger wearing her fiancé's face. "I need to ask you something," she said. Her voice was flat, careful, like she'd rehearsed it 20 times before he walked through the door. "Always," Ethan said. He sat down across from her the way he always did, like this was just a regular Tuesday, like everything was normal. And then she slid her phone across the table. Ethan looked at it. On the screen was a photograph. An old one, looked like it was from maybe 10, 12 years ago. A little girl, maybe 2 or 3 years old, sitting on a park bench. Dark hair, big brown eyes, tiny sneakers. And next to her, absolutely, unmistakably, a younger version of Ethan Carter. 21, maybe 22, smiling at the camera like he didn't have a care in the world. His stomach dropped before his brain caught up to why. "Rachel, there are more," she scrolled slowly, deliberately, like she'd already memorized every single page. Photos, documents, child support filings, hospital records, messages. She looked up. "Your mother sent them to me this morning. She says you have a 15-year-old daughter named Sophie. She says you got a woman pregnant when you were 19. She says you paid that woman off and abandoned the baby and never told a single soul." Dead silence. Ethan felt the air leave the room. "Is it true? And here's what I want you to sit with, sweetheart." In that moment, before Ethan even opened his mouth, Rachel's eyes told the whole story. She wasn't asking because she was sure it wasn't true. She was asking because some small part of her had already started to wonder. That's what a mother's lie can do to a relationship. It plants a seed of doubt in the most fertile ground there is, love that's mixed with fear. "No," Ethan said, immediately, firmly, no hesitation. "Rachel, no, that is not true. I don't have a daughter. I've never had a daughter. Whatever she sent you, it isn't real." Rachel looked at him for a long, long time, and then she said the 7 words that would haunt him for months. "I want to believe you. I really do. She closed her phone and set it face down on the table, and something in Ethan Carter's chest, something that had felt solid and permanent for 4 years, began to quietly crack. Now I know what some of y'all are thinking. You're thinking, well, hold on now. What exactly was in those documents? What did Linda send to Rachel? And that's a fair question, because the answer is what makes this story so cold and so calculated. It wasn't just one photograph. It wasn't just a rumor or a phone call. No. Linda Carter had been working on this for a while. The package she sent Rachel included 8 altered photographs, all of them showing a young Ethan with a small child. Professionally edited, the kind of cropping and color matching that takes time, takes intention, takes someone who knows exactly what they're doing. It included what appeared to be child support payment records, 3 years worth, with Ethan's signature on every page. It included a copy of a birth certificate listing Ethan as the father. It included a handwritten letter from Linda herself, 3 pages long, describing how she had known about the child for years, how she had begged Ethan to do the right thing, how she had protected him from the consequences because she was his mother, and that's what mothers do. She was really something. Linda Carter, as a grandmother myself, I have seen manipulation in my day. I've seen families tear themselves apart over petty grievances and small jealousies. But what Linda built here, what she assembled and packaged and delivered like it was a care package, that wasn't petty, that was premeditated. And the photographs were the thing that really got to Rachel. Because you can question a document, you can wonder about a letter, but a photograph of a man sitting next to a child, smiling, that lands different. That lands in your gut before it ever reaches your brain. Rachel told Ethan later that she'd sat with that phone for 2 hours before he came home. 2 hours looking at images of the man she loved, the man she was supposed to marry in 72 hours, sitting next to a little girl she'd never heard of. 2 hours is a long time to let doubt breathe. That same night, after Rachel had gone to bed, or at least gone to the bedroom, which wasn't the same thing as sleep, Ethan called his mother. She picked up on the second ring. Now, I want you to pay very close attention to this phone call. Because what Linda Carter says in this conversation, how she says it, tells you everything you need to know about who she is. She didn't answer with worry. She didn't say, "Ethan, what's wrong?" She didn't pretend to be surprised. She said, "Ethan," just his name, warm, almost tender. Like she'd been expecting the call and had been looking forward to it. "I'm so sorry you had to find out this way," she said. "I only did what I felt was right." Ethan stood at the window of their apartment, his and Rachel's apartment, the one they'd picked out together, the one with the good light in the morning, and he pressed his forehead against the glass. "Mom," he kept his voice steady, barely. "What you sent Rachel is a lie. You know it's a lie. I don't have a secret child. I never did. Whatever you sent her, you need to take it back. Tonight." A long pause on the other end of the line, and then Linda Carter, his mother, said this. "You chose her over your real family, Ethan. You froze me out of the wedding planning. You wouldn't let me have any say in how you're going to raise your future children. I've been patient. I have been so patient. But actions have consequences." Ethan pulled the phone away from his ear and just stared at it for a moment. Because she wasn't even pretending to deny it. She wasn't claiming the documents were real. She wasn't doubling down on the lie. She was explaining her motive, out loud, directly to him. Like she'd decided he deserved that much. The truth of why she'd done it, even while the lie was still in motion. "This is revenge," Ethan said. His voice had gone very quiet. "You made up a child because I wouldn't let you control my wedding. I shared information I felt your fiancé deserved to have," Linda said. "Mom, good night, Ethan." She hung up, and Ethan stood at that window in the dark for a long time, watching the city move below him, cars and headlights and people who had no idea. He tried to locate what he was feeling, and what he found underneath the shock and the anger was something he wasn't ready for. Grief. real grief. The kind you feel not for what happened, but for what you finally understand. For the version of your mother you'd been holding on to. The complicated version, the sometimes loving version, the version you kept hoping would someday be different. And the slow, terrible understanding that she never was what you'd hoped, that she never was going to be. The next morning, Ethan learned something about the way information travels in family systems. It moves like water, finds every crack, every gap, fills every low-lying space until suddenly it's just everywhere. Rachel hadn't told her family about the documents. She'd said she wanted to talk to Ethan first. She'd at least given him that. But Linda had sent the package to Rachel directly. She hadn't sent it quietly. She'd included a phone number, an availability to discuss the situation further. She had made herself available, which meant she had made herself visible, which meant the information had already started spreading before Ethan even got out of bed. By 9 in the morning, Rachel's brother Daniel was on his way. Daniel Monroe was 40 years old. Built like someone who'd played football in college and never let go of the mentality. He was the older brother, the protector, and he had always had reservations about Ethan. Not for any specific reason, just a general low grade. Suspicion that Ethan had never been able to fully crack. He found Ethan in the parking lot of the venue while Rachel was inside going over final details with the coordinator. The wedding was still technically on. Nobody had officially said otherwise. Daniel crossed the parking lot with the specific energy of a man who has decided what's going to happen in this conversation before it starts. Men who abandon their children don't deserve second chances. No greeting, no preamble, just that. Ethan looked at him. There is no child, Daniel. Your own mother says otherwise. My mother fabricated the entire thing, as revenge, because I wouldn't let her control my wedding. Daniel's expression didn't move, not 1 millimeter. So your defense is that your mother, a 62-year-old woman, invented and forged documentation of an abandoned child because of wedding planning. When he said it out loud like that, Ethan could hear how it sounded. He could hear the gap between what was true and what was believable. I know how it sounds, Ethan said. Do you? Yes. But it's the truth. Daniel looked at him for a long moment. Then, Rachel deserves to know who she's marrying. And he walked away. Inside the venue, a handful of out-of-town guests who'd arrived early were talking in clusters near the entrance. Not loudly, not obviously, but Ethan caught the way conversations shifted when he walked past. The way eyes moved. The way smiles tightened. The information was in the water now. His best man Marco found him near the garden around noon. Marco and Ethan had been friends since college. 15 years of friendship. The kind of friendship where you don't talk for 3 months and then pick up exactly where you left off. Marco looked uncomfortable in a way Ethan had never seen on him. Look, man. Marco kept his voice low. I'm not saying I believe it. I really am not. I just think maybe if you sat down and had a real conversation with your mom, like actually got to the bottom of... Marco. Ethan stopped him. Do you think I have a secret 15-year-old daughter I abandoned? Marco didn't answer right away, and that half second of hesitation, that tiny involuntary pause, told Ethan everything. He nodded slowly and walked away. Now, honey, I need you. To understand what it feels like to be Ethan Carter in this moment, he's telling the truth. He knows he's telling the truth. He has always known the truth. But the truth, his truth, is invisible. You can't hold it. You can't show it to anyone. All you can show them is what his mother built, what she manufactured, what she made look real. And the lie is everywhere, in people's eyes, in the way they hold their bodies when he walks into a room, in the questions nobody's asking him directly, but that he can feel hanging in the air. Have you ever been in a room full of people who know something about you that isn't true? Have you ever had a version of yourself walking around out there, a false version, that you have no way to stop? That's where Ethan was. And it is one of the loneliest places a person can be. That night, Ethan went home, their apartment again, but he was sleeping in the guest room now, because some invisible boundary had been drawn and neither of them had the words to erase it yet. And he sat down at his desk. He opened his laptop and he got to work. Now, Ethan was an architect. His entire professional life was built on the principle that structures have integrity, or they don't. And when they don't, when something doesn't hold under examination, there are always signs, always tells. The thing is, you have to know where to look. So he looked. He started with the photographs. Rachel had forwarded them to him at his request so he could examine them. He pulled them up and opened them alongside his own archived social media photos. He'd kept everything, a professional habit, maintaining a visual record. It took him 40 minutes to find the originals. The clearest one was from a barbecue in the summer he was 22. His aunt's backyard, big gathering, lots of kids running around. In his mother's altered version, he was sitting on a park bench with a little girl with dark hair and big brown eyes. In the original, the one from his own archived photos, he was sitting at a picnic table, and the little girl next to him was his cousin Elena's daughter, Becca, 3 years old at the time. The photograph had been cropped, the background replaced, and the child's image swapped out for another. He actually had to sit back from his desk for a moment, because this wasn't just a lie. This was art direction. This was production. Someone had sourced an image of another child and professionally composited it into a photo that was 14 years old. His mother had either done this herself, and she was tech-savvy enough, he knew that, or she had paid someone. Either way, this was not an impulsive act. This was not a moment of desperate anger. This had been planned. He moved on to the documents. The child support payment records were the next thing to crack. Ethan had a very specific signature, had developed it in college. There was a break in the capital E that was almost more of a gap than a curve. A detail he'd never consciously maintained, but that appeared on literally every document he'd signed in the last 15 years. The signatures on these records were smooth, practiced. Someone had studied his handwriting carefully enough to get close, but not close enough. The gap wasn't there. He photographed it, circled it in red, saved the comparisons side by side. Then the birth certificate. The hospital listed on the birth certificate was St. Augustine Women's Center. Ethan searched it, found a local business listing, a mention in a community newsletter from years back, and then, buried in a county records archive, a closure notice. St. Augustine Women's Center had permanently closed its doors 11 years ago. The birth certificate was dated 9 years after the hospital stopped operating. Ethan leaned back in his chair and stared at the ceiling for a long time. He had 3 pieces of evidence that the documents were fabricated: the photo manipulation, the signature discrepancy, the impossible hospital record. He organized everything into a folder, time-stamped his screenshots, sent the whole package to himself 3 times, to 3 different email addresses. Then he went to Rachel. It was late. She was awake. He could see the light under the bedroom door. He knocked. "Yeah," she said. He sat on the edge of the bed and walked her through everything. Slowly, methodically. The way you present architectural plans to a skeptical client. Clear, organized, without emotion, letting the evidence carry the weight. When he finished, he waited. Rachel looked at the comparison photos for a long time, then the signatures, then the hospital record. Her eyes moved carefully over each piece, and then she said, "I want to believe you, but what if there's even a chance it's true? What if she found some real documentation and added things to it? What if there's a version of this story that has some truth in it?" Ethan closed his folder. "There isn't," he said quietly. "You can't know that for certain." "I can, because I know what I've done and what I haven't done, Rachel. And I have never been a father. Not to any child. Not once." She looked at him, and he looked at her. And the distance between them felt enormous. Not the physical distance. They were sitting 3 feet apart on their bed. But something else. something that 3 days' worth of a lie had stretched to a width he wasn't sure. Either of them knew how to cross. "I believe you," she said finally. But she said it the way people say things when they're trying to believe and not quite there yet. And Ethan recognized the difference. He'd spent enough time listening to people to know. He went back to the guest room. He didn't sleep. The wedding rehearsal had been postponed. That was Rachel's decision, made quietly through a brief text to the coordinator on the morning after Daniel's confrontation. No announcement, no explanation to the guests, just a change in schedule that everybody read correctly. The wedding itself was technically still on, but it felt like a building where someone had found a hairline crack in the foundation. Still standing, still there, but everybody was quietly calculating whether it was safe to stay inside. Ethan spent the next day doing two things simultaneously. On the outside, he kept showing up, kept being present, calm, accountable, responded to texts, showed up to the venue consultation, ate dinner at the table next to Rachel, even when the silence was loud enough to fill the room. On the inside, he kept digging. He called his cousin Elena, explained the situation carefully without going into the full drama of it, asked her to email him the original photos from that barbecue 14 years ago. She did, within the hour. He had what he needed. He found an online forum for document fraud investigation, a community of forensic analysts, amateur and professional, who spent their free time examining suspicious paperwork. He posted the comparison images with identifying information removed. Within 6 hours, 3 separate people had confirmed what he already knew. The signatures were forgeries. One user, who claimed to be a retired forensic documents examiner, pointed out a specific pressure inconsistency in the pen strokes that she said was consistent with copying rather than natural signature generation. He saved every response. He called a family law attorney. Made an appointment, just to understand his options, he told himself. Just to know what was available. The attorney, a woman named Gloria Reyes, listened to the whole story over the phone without interrupting. When he finished, she said, "Do you know who specifically is making these claims?" "My mother." A pause. "Okay. And has she been the one to directly approach your fiancé?" "Yes. She sent a package. Documents, photos, a letter." "Does your mother have any financial resources she could have used to fund this kind of operation? Photo editing? False documentation? She's comfortable. Not wealthy, but comfortable. And she's had months to plan this." Gloria Reyes said, "Give me 2 days and your email address." He gave her both. Meanwhile, Linda Carter was moving through the wedding guest community like smoke. She'd called Rachel's mother, had a long, tearful conversation, so Rachel's mother told her privately about how hard it had been to carry this knowledge, how she'd tried to speak to Ethan, how she'd hoped he would come forward himself. She was devastating. She really was. I'll give her that. Because here's the thing about Linda Carter that you need to understand. She wasn't stupid. She wasn't unhinged. She wasn't the kind of soap opera villain who twirls her hair and cackles in the corner. She was a woman who had spent 62 years learning exactly how to use love as a lever, how to perform vulnerability, how to make her own self-interest look like selfless concern. She'd done it her whole life, to Ethan's father, to her friends, to her son. She'd done it so long that I genuinely wonder if she knew the difference any more between performing and feeling. And that, honey, is what makes her dangerous. Because evil with self-awareness can be stopped. Evil that believes its own story, that's much harder to fight. The rehearsal dinner was Rachel's mother's idea. The logic was sound, even if the timing felt surreal. The wedding was in 36 hours, the immediate family and wedding party were all in town, and canceling would send a message nobody had officially agreed to send yet. So the dinner stayed on. Marchetti's restaurant, private room, 40 people. White tablecloths and candlelight and garlic bread and the kind of warm Italian ambiance that usually means celebration. Usually Ethan put on his suit. He did it slowly and carefully, the way you dress for something important. His navy suit, the one he'd bought specifically for this wedding week. He looked at himself in the bathroom mirror for a moment. Just looked. And then he straightened his collar and went to pick up Rachel. She was wearing a simple green dress. She looked beautiful. She always looked beautiful. They walked into the restaurant side by side and didn't hold hands. The room was already full. Both families. The wedding. Party. Friends who'd flown in from other states. 40 people doing their best impression of people who weren't walking on glass. Linda Carter was already there. Ethan saw her the moment he walked in. She was in a navy dress with pearl earrings. She looked composed, dignified, like a woman who had done a difficult but necessary thing and was at peace with it. She moved through the room, accepting hugs and speaking softly and playing the role she'd cast for herself to absolute perfection. The heartbroken mother. The woman who loved her son enough to tell the truth, no matter the cost. Ethan watched her, work the room, and felt something settle in his stomach. Not anger. Not yet. Something colder and more patient. He found his seat. Rachel sat next to him. Her mother and father across the table. Daniel 3 seats down, watching Ethan with the specific flatness of a man who has decided something and is waiting for the world to confirm it. Someone gave a toast. Someone else laughed too loudly. The bread came. The wine came. And underneath all of it, underneath every polite conversation and forced smile, was the sound of a clock ticking. 36 hours. Tick, 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 and then the doors opened. Now, I want you to imagine this moment. Really picture it. 40 people in a warm, candle-lit room. The kind of room that smells like good food and old wood. Low music, something instrumental and Italian playing softly in the background. The clink of glasses, the murmur of conversation, and then the doors open and a teenage girl walks in, alone. She's about 15. Gray sweater, dark jeans, dark hair pulled back simply. Sneakers. She's dressed like someone who came here straight from school, or from a bus, or from wherever she spent the day building up the nerve to do what she's about to do. She stands in the doorway and looks around the room. And the room stops. Not all at once. Not dramatically. It's more like a wave. One conversation dying, then another, until the silence has spread from that doorway to every corner of the room and 40 people are looking at a teenage girl who none of them recognize, except she has dark hair, brown eyes, and Ethan, even Ethan, who knew with absolute certainty that he had no daughter, felt his heart do something complicated in his chest. Because she was the age the documents said. She had the coloring the photographs suggested. And she was standing in the doorway of their rehearsal dinner like she had somewhere to be. From across the room, Ethan heard his mother's voice. Low, steady, certain. Finally, the truth is here. Rachel stood up slowly, like someone getting to their feet in a dream. She moved around the table toward the girl and stopped a few feet away. Are you Sophie? The girl looked at her, and something in her expression, something Ethan would later describe as the look of someone carrying weight they'd decided to set down, shifted. She nodded. Yeah, she said. I'm Sophie. The room was silent. And then Linda Carter stepped forward from her side of the room, moving toward the center the way she always moved, with the authority of someone who believes the narrative belongs to her. Sophie, she said. Her voice was warm, stage warm. You can tell them. Tell everyone what you told me. About Ethan, I'm not his daughter. 3 words. 3 words, and 40 people stopped breathing. Sophie stood in that doorway in her gray sweater with her hands at her sides, and she said it again, quieter this time, looking directly at Rachel. I'm not his daughter. I'm not anyone's abandoned daughter. I was paid to say I was. The silence that followed those words was a different kind of silence than the one before them. Before, it was the silence of suspense. The silence of a room waiting for something to happen. After? That was the silence of a room trying to process. The ground shifting underneath 40 sets of feet simultaneously. Linda Carter said nothing. which, if you'd been watching her all night, watching the composed dignity, the mournful grace, was itself a kind of tell. Because Linda Carter always had something to say. Always. Sophie took a step into the room. She looked nervous. Of course she did. She was 15 years old, standing in front of a table full of strangers. But she stood up straight, and she kept her voice as steady as a kid standing up for what's right can manage. My mom was going through a really hard time, she said. Last year, we had medical bills. She lost her job. We were about to lose our apartment. She swallowed. Someone contacted her, a woman. She said she needed a favor, a legal favor she called it, and she was willing to pay $10,000 if my mom would sign some documents and let me take some photos with a borrowed outfit and go to a park. Rachel's mother made a sound. Behind her, something strangled and quiet. My mom said yes, because we needed the money, and the woman told her it was for a dispute. Nothing criminal, just a civil thing. It would help somebody. Sophie paused. I didn't know. I really didn't. I thought it was some kind of modeling thing, which I know sounds dumb, but I was 14 and my mom said it was fine. Linda started. I'm not done, Sophie said, and she said it gently. But she didn't stop. A couple months ago, I started seeing things online about a man named Ethan Carter, about a wedding, about a daughter he'd supposedly abandoned. And I saw one of the photos they took of me that day at the park. And I felt sick, because I saw his face, and I knew. That was me in those pictures, and I knew what they were being used for, and I knew that a real person was being called a deadbeat dad because of something I participated in without understanding what I was doing. She reached into the pocket of her jeans and pulled out her phone. I found messages on my mom's phone, between her and the woman who hired her. I took screenshots of everything. The bank transfer confirmation showing $10,000 deposited into my mom's account. The text messages where the woman explains what the documents are for. And a phone call, a recorded one because my mom started recording everything when she got nervous, where the woman says, and I quote, that she needs a different name attached to me because the real name would cause too many problems. Rachel had not sat back down. She was standing between Sophie and the rest of the room, very still, like she was afraid that if she moved, something would break. What name? She asked. Her voice was barely above a whisper. What was the real name? Sophie looked across the room at Linda Carter. My mother's real name for her records was never Sophie whoever. My biological father, according to the records my mom kept, is someone named Paul Delacroix. She didn't break eye contact. He's Linda, Carter's ex-boyfriend, from about 17 years ago. Now, honey, I need you to take a breath. Because I know, you heard what I just said. Sophie's biological father was Linda's ex-boyfriend, which means, follow me here. Linda Carter had not just fabricated a child to destroy her son's engagement. She had taken a real situation, a real teenage girl, a real absent father from her own past, and weaponized it. Used it as raw material. Shaped it to look like something it wasn't. She had borrowed someone else's grief and turned it into a weapon aimed at her own child. The room had gone completely still in a way that rooms don't usually go still. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. 40 people were processing the specific horror of what they were hearing. Not just the lie. Not just the manipulation, but the layers of it, the architecture of it. Linda Carter hadn't just told a lie. She'd engineered a reality. She'd found a real girl in a real situation and a real mother who was desperate enough to accept money without asking enough questions. And she'd folded them into a story designed to destroy the one person who dared to live his life without her permission. Rachel turned, slowly, and she looked at Linda Carter. Linda was still standing in the center of the room. Her composure had cracked. Not shattered, not collapsed, but cracked. The warmth was gone from her expression. The mournful dignity had evaporated. Underneath it was something much smaller. This is a misunderstanding, Linda said. Her voice was different now. clipped, defensive. This girl is confused. Her mother clearly— I have the bank transfer, Sophie said quietly. It came from your account, ma'am. I can show everyone. She held up the phone. Several people leaned forward involuntarily. Linda went completely still, and Daniel Monroe, Rachel's brother, the man who'd looked at Ethan 3 days ago and told him that men who abandon their children don't deserve second chances. Daniel. Monroe sat back in his chair and stared at the tablecloth in front of him. Rachel's mother reached across the table and took her husband's hand. Someone in the back of the room quietly set down a wine glass. Ethan, who had not moved from his seat at the main table, who had sat through the entire revelation with his hands flat on the white tablecloth. Ethan looked at his mother across the room, and she looked back at him, and he felt not triumph, not vindication exactly. What he felt was something much older and much sadder than either of those things. He felt the finality of understanding someone completely, of seeing at last, with perfect clarity, who they had always been. Linda Carter looked away first. She gathered her coat from the back of her chair, put it on with careful, deliberate movements, smoothed the front of it. And then she walked out of the room, not quickly, not dramatically, but steadily, the way a person walks when they've decided the only move left is to remove themselves from the board. The door swung shut behind her. For a moment, nobody said anything, and then Rachel Monroe sat down in her chair and put her face in her hands. The dinner ended, not with a dramatic moment, not with a speech, just with the slow, exhausted dispersal of 40 people who had each in their own way survived something. Rachel's mother had taken Sophie aside immediately, put a hand on the girl's shoulder and spoken to her quietly in the corner for a long time. Sophie looked overwhelmed and relieved in equal measure, the way you look when you've been carrying something heavy for months and someone finally says, "Put that down." Ethan's friends came to him one by one. Marco was the first, and he didn't say anything articulate, just gripped Ethan's shoulder and held on for a moment, which, honestly, was the right call. Daniel Monroe found Ethan near the back exit. He looked like a man who was very uncomfortable and was choosing to push through it anyway. "I owe you an apology," he said. No preamble. "I was wrong, and I made it worse." Ethan looked at him. "Yeah, you did. I'm sorry." Ethan nodded once. He didn't say it was fine, because it wasn't quite yet, but he nodded, and Daniel nodded back. And they both understood that this was the beginning of something that would take more than one conversation to repair. Rachel found him near the window at the end of the night. Everyone else had gone. They stood in the emptied room, the staff clearing tables around them, the candles burned low, and for a long moment neither of them spoke. "Ethan," she started. "I know," he said. "No, let me—" "Rachel." He turned to face her. "I'm not angry about the documents. I'm not angry that Linda did what she did. I'm angry about one thing, one specific thing." She waited. "When you showed me that phone at our kitchen table," he said, "I told you immediately it wasn't true. I told you with absolute certainty. And your first response, before you even had time to really process it, was doubt." He paused. Not curiosity. Not, "Let me ask you more." Doubt. Like somewhere in you, there was already a door open for a version of me that could do that. Rachel's eyes were bright. "You know that's not fair. Maybe it isn't. But it's true." He kept his voice even, quiet. Not cold, never cold, because Ethan Carter wasn't that kind of man, but honest. "I need you to tell me who you think I am, Rachel. Because if you need documents to prove I'm not a monster, if my word isn't enough on its own, then I'm not sure what we're building." She closed her eyes. When she opened them, there were tears on her face. "I know who you are," she said. "I know. I was scared. And Linda she's very good at what she does. And I let the fear win for a minute. More than a minute." She wiped her face. I'm so sorry, Ethan. I know you are. He was quiet for a moment. I need some time. She nodded. He left first. And she let him. The days that followed were quiet in a particular way. Ethan moved through them slowly. He went to work. He talked to his attorney, Gloria Reyes, who sent him a full forensic analysis confirming everything he'd already found. He called his cousin Elena and explained, finally, the whole story. She was furious on his behalf, which helped. He did not call his mother. She sent a letter 4 days after the rehearsal dinner. 4 handwritten pages explaining, in careful, self-exonerating language, that she had acted out of love and fear, that she had been afraid of losing her son, that she had made choices she regretted. It was a performance piece. She couldn't help herself, even in private communication. And it arrived too carefully composed to be genuine. He read it once, put it in a drawer. Sophie texted him about a week later. I'm sorry for my part in it. I know I didn't know what I was helping do, but I should have asked more questions. He read it 3 times. Then he wrote back. You were 15 years old, and you walked into a room full of strangers alone to tell the truth. That takes more courage than most adults have. Thank you. Genuinely. She sent back a small green plant emoji. He didn't know why that made him feel something real, but it did. Rachel came to his door on a Wednesday afternoon. No call ahead, no text. She just knocked. He opened the door and she was standing there in jeans and a sweater, no makeup, looking tired in the way that has nothing to do with sleep. Can I come in? She asked. He stood back. She sat on the couch, not their couch anymore, just his, and she looked at her hands for a moment. I've been thinking about what you said, she started. About the door, about how quickly I opened it. She looked up. You were right. And I have been sitting with that, really sitting with it, trying to understand why. He waited. She took a breath. I think I've spent my whole life waiting for the part where something falls apart. Every relationship I've ever had, I've been waiting for the other shoe. And Linda handed me the shoe so convincingly that I grabbed it before I even thought to question whether it was real. She swallowed. That's not an excuse. It's an explanation. And I know there's a difference. Ethan leaned forward with his elbows on his knees. I'm not looking for you to be perfect, he said after a moment. I'm not looking for someone who never doubts. I'm looking for someone who doubts and still asks me first. He looked at her. That's all. Just talk to me first. Always. Rachel nodded. Once. Slowly. Like she was signing something. Always, she said. He forgave her. Not all at once. Forgiveness is rarely a single moment, no matter what the movies tell you. It's more like a series of small choices, each day choosing to come back to it. Each morning choosing to believe in the person sitting across from you at breakfast. It took time, it took honesty, and it took 2 people deciding, really deciding with their eyes open, that what they had was worth the work. The second wedding was in October. 22 people. A garden venue about an hour outside the city. Rented for an afternoon, just the afternoon, none of the extended weekend production that had surrounded the original plans. Rachel wore an ivory dress she'd found at a vintage shop downtown, simple and beautiful, with small pearl buttons at the cuff. Ethan wore his navy suit. No rehearsal dinner.